Hi, I'm Dave, founder of Halloween Year Round, and I'm joined by
Patrick, how's it going, everyone?
and welcome to our third weekly Dead Talk, where in honor of Valentine's Day, we're talking about My Bloody Valentine. Well, not just one, two My Bloody Valentines. Two movies that are similar in plot, but very different in execution. So we will get to that in just a moment. You had never seen them before, had you?
Yes, that is correct. This was the very first time that I've seen both movies myself, and I have to say, just overall, I really enjoyed them, especially the original 1981 film. And I will definitely give more of my thoughts as we continue the video. But yes, I'm really glad that we're having a chance to talk about it because it's a very interesting film and plot idea of a miner seeking vengeance on Valentine's Day, which is, by then, since 80s, with the various holiday themed horror things like New Year's Evil and Prom Night and
It
Black
is
Christmas.
there a
Yeah,
holiday that doesn't have an accompanying slasher movie? I don't know that there is one.
that yeah, I mean, I know like
Maybe
I know
like
there was
Arbor
there.
Day or something.
Yeah, I think you're right actually. Yeah, I
I'll
think,
have to
yeah,
look into
Arbor Day
that.
would probably
But
that would be
yeah,
interesting to. Yeah,
spoiler
that
alert,
is true.
most people like the original better. We'll get into that in just a minute. But as
Yes.
always, with these weekly Dead Talks, we wanted to first talk a little bit about horror news. So this week, the big thing at the beginning of the week was, of course, the trailer for the new Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I actually did a trailer reaction on this channel. I'll link that down below in case you want to check that out.
Yep.
I'm torn because it's a franchise, I'm a huge fan of. I consider the original Texas Chainsaw to be the first true slasher movie. That's the movie I give that title to. And yeah, it's been rebooted before. If you think the Halloween series timeline is messy, just look at the Texas Chainsaw one. But it just feels like it's really trying to do the Halloween 2018 thing where you have Sally from the original and she's like, I've been waiting for this day for 50 years. And it's like, I'm going to go in open minded and I'm going to go in hoping I like it. And that is all I will say.
As for me, I did have a chance to watch the trailer myself. I've never seen the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre, but I will be changing that within the next few weeks. I will be watching the original, and I'll give my personal thoughts on that when we do our comparison. But from my initial reaction for the trailer, I mean, I know of the character, I know of Leatherface and the various films that preceded afterwards. But I have to say though, like it's definitely very interesting to see like like modern day, people encountering someone like Leatherface and, especially near the end of the trailer, like the kids with their phones,
Oh
like,
my God.
saying, "Oh yeah, oh yeah, we're here to cancel you, dude." Revs up the chainsaw, doesn't care about that. Is a back is a, and it's like
I
that.
mean,
I was sold on that alone. Just seeing like like a wake up call to everyone there.
we're wasn't society already canceling homicidal maniacs by like sending them to prison? Like, wasn't that always a thing?
Yeah, that's what I
I don't
thought.
know.
It's
Was
crazy.
that like the old school version of canceling them? Just like, I don't know. But speaking of slashers and speaking of things that I'm gonna try to be optimistic about, they announced another Scream movie, which of course they did. The movie made $100 million in like 3 or 4 weeks, which for number one, to be released during the pandemic, great
Hmm.
numbers, especially for a
Yes.
horror movie. Number two, for a January release, that's
Oh
the
yeah.
month they send movies to die. And it did well. As you guys saw in our previous video, if you watched it about Scream, I thought the new one worked if it's the last one. But of course, in the back of my mind, I always knew they were going to do another one. I don't want it to turn into Scream 3, where it becomes almost like parody instead of satire. But again, I will try to be optimistic.
Yeah, talk about a resurrection.
Yeah. Then finally, we'll get into this a bit later. A bit of sad news: the star of the original My Bloody Valentine, Paul Kellman, actually just passed away this week at the age of 72. He played TJ, the guy who had been away for 10 years and then returned. That was very sad to hear, especially when like you and I were talking about this movie this week and watching it, and then I saw that. I'm like, oh, that's a shame. Apparently, he didn't do his IMDb. There's not a whole lot other than My Bloody Valentine. Like he wasn't really like he was very much in in private life and in not in the Hollywood world. So not much is known.
Hmm.
It didn't even really say what he died. It just said complications from health, which I feel
Oh,
like that's like all deaths are complications from health. But we will dedicate this episode in his memory.
absolutely.
And then, Patrick, I think you had a couple pieces of news to talk about.
Well, thank you very much, Dave. Was it Dave for throwing the ball my way, or in this case, the pickaxe?
In
So yeah.
3D.
So yeah, I'm gonna highlight some Blu-ray and 4K releases coming up, along with some other horror-related news. So first up, from Shout Factory, Scream Factory, we got
Love
Night.
them.
Yes, me too. I absolutely love Shout Factory, and especially their Scream Factory stuff. I mean, their Vincent Price like
Mm,
collection alone is like worth its weight in gold. So we got Night Creatures starring the legendary Peter Cushing coming out on April the 19th, which is really cool.
very cool.
Yep, for this year. Also, we have Tentacles on Blu-ray coming out on April the 12th.
Tentacles. That's so my dirty mind is going to like Japanese porn, but I'm assuming that's not what this
No,
is.
no, no, no.
Okay.
No. It's one. I think it's along the lines of Jaws, but in this case, it's like a killer octopus. Like
Okay, I can
like in the
dig that.
same yeah, in the same 70s vibe. Yeah, which is always like interesting, like especially because I do love Jaws. That's definitely a favorite of mine too. So if I definitely am curious, like like if that was like one of the big ones that where everyone's like kind of just rushing on board to capitalize on that kind of thing.
As always happens.
Yep. Is it just chasing the fads as always? But yeah, very curious about that. Another Shout Factory title coming up is Wes Craven's Cursed, which is coming out on April the 26th. That's definitely a favorite of mine in terms of werewolf movies. I love werewolf movies, and I love
It's
like checking those out.
it's severely underrated, and it's one of those ones that the studio butchered it, and there
Yeah.
is there's from what I've heard, there's almost like an entire Snyder cut of footage that I don't think we'll ever see. But just the fact that it's a great movie as is, and you can even see where it had potential to do even more. So I'm
Yeah, absolutely.
hoping that maybe they dug up some of that. And I don't care if it's in even I would watch just those deleted scenes even without the final visual effects done just to see those scenes.
Yeah, same here. So yeah, like hopefully Shout Factory dug up some good stuff. So, you know, I'm really
Mm-hmm.
hoping that's the case because they are excellent. They are definitely one of my gold standards when it comes to unearthing older footage, getting interviews. Like for example, with My Bloody Valentine, the original '81 film, they have a lot of excellent interviews and with the cast and the reunion of them, special effects, even like having the original singer for the ballad of Harry Warden coming in as well. So, like doing his song rendition of it, which is really really cool.
Yeah.
Yep. Um, and up next, from that, we have Uncle Sam. which is going to have a 4K release for the first time.
Finally,
Yeah.
I have that on DVD, and I might have to buy the 4K
Yeah,
because I love that movie.
yeah, I think it will be 4K and is it Blu-ray? Is it like to my current knowledge? That could
It,
change, but as some of these announcements do. So
if you are not watching that every 4th of July, you are not doing your patriotic duty to watch Uncle Sam.
indeed. We have three upcoming Alfred Hitchcock titles, which are going to
Ooh,
be
which ones?
we got Marine, The Trouble with Harry, and Family Plot coming to 4K for the very first time, which is going to be really cool. So I'm definitely looking forward to seeing that
I've
come out.
I've
Um,
seen Trouble with Harry.
yes, I've seen that too.
I
That is
saw it in a film class. Very kind of like a dark comedy, like not his
yes,
typical genre, but I remember
yes,
really liking it.
yes. Oh yeah, very much so. Like this was one of his like later films where he, I believe, like experimented a bit more in terms of like story and as a genre. That's why
Mm-hmm.
it's so different. And yet, ironically enough, it's just so interesting, especially with every character's relation to the character of as a Harry after his death. It's very, very
Mm-hmm.
fascinating. So we got as I so be sure to be on the lookout for those three for 4K. And our last piece of news, and this one completely came out of left field, but very welcome. Disney, with Disney Plus, is planning to as I have a Goosebumps series, a brand new Goosebumps series, which they have ordered 10 episodes for, which is coming down the pipeline. We still don't know a lot about it yet. We don't know
There's
about
not
any
even a release
casting.
date, I don't
Yeah,
think, or any.
yeah. They've.
Is this part of their Bring the '90s Back
I think.
campaign, like with
I think.
Hocus Pocus 2 coming out later
I
this year?
I have a funny feeling that's going to be the case because like you can definitely tell like that's kind of the nostalgia train they're riding down. Like just kind of like taking all these older 20th century Fox properties and then bringing them back. Like that's the way I'm kind of like looking at it because like they did that
And
with Home Alone, they've done that with
yeah, we
yeah
don't speak about that Home
yeah
Alone movie.
yeah
I watched it out of curiosity and
I
don't
did
bother.
I didn't. I'm just happy with the original ones myself. I mean, heck, even the third and fourth movies, I didn't even bother because
Yeah.
If Macaulay Culkin isn't going to be in either of them, I don't have a reason to watch it. That is a so yeah. So yeah, like it seems that Disney wants to, you know, get back on the '90s train, and yeah, we'll see.
And
We'll give you more info as it comes down.
the '90s is nostalgic again, but we're gonna get a little more nostalgic as we jump a decade further back to the good old year of 1981. So,
Yes.
as promised, today's topic is My Bloody Valentine. Sort of a mashup of the two. I was initially gonna do it as like, definitive in this category, which one wins. I think we all know the original wins. So
Yes.
instead of like trying to figure out which one's better, it's going to be, we're going to talk about what the original one does better in every way. And as well as talk about some stuff that the 2009 one I like for different reasons. It has stuff going for it.
Yeah, like even though I'm not a big fan of remakes in the first place, like the 2009 film, yeah, I do agree with you. Did have some interesting ideas and some creative kills, which was nice.
Mm-hmm.
Although I still feel that ultimately the story of the 81 film is far better and far stronger. But yeah, let's
So
get
let's
into it.
talk about that first. Let's talk about story and characters. So, I mean, both of them deal with there was like a tragedy 10 years earlier, and Harry Warden, is almost like this mythical folk tale. And the original, I think, really hammers in that point that it's like a local ghost story.
Yes, absolutely.
He's like a local boogeyman, which every area has something like that. So I think that made it really relatable. Um, just pacing wise, I thought the original, it took its time. Again, this is a murder mystery, hence the shirt.
Hmm.
And I think the original, with any good murder mystery, you kind of have to go at the slower pace, at least in the beginning. And I think the new one is very quick to just kind of rush into everything. It's from that era
Yeah.
where, everything's in your face with
Yeah.
loud music playing.
Yeah, I know.
And it just, like,
Yeah.
they both have an identical premise, but the original just has more story, I think.
Yes. Yes, agreed on that one 100%. Definitely a deeper story and also deeper characters too. I mean, like I really felt is it like in the 81 film, like I really felt like attached to the characters as I was seeing them on screen and like the different conflicts each one of them had. Like especially I have to definitely give it to uh the actor who played as a Hollis. Like I really loved his
Hmm.
performance. Like I mean like, you know, we are are we touching on spoilers in this as well or
I think we can spoil a 41-year-old movie.
okay.
That's my
Yeah,
rule.
gotcha. All right. Fair enough. But anyway, but yeah, for Keith Knight's character of Hollis, his death, like in particular, really like struck at me because he was such a likable character, and he was risking his very life, like trying to,
Hmm.
save the girls down in the mine, and that's when you kind of like just hits at you like no one's safe. Like that's like the thing that I do miss in like older horror slasher films is the fact that we had to have characters that we don't want to see die, but at the same time though their weight, the deaths of them like have weight and as a value like versus just having characters who are just so unlikable to the point where it's like yeah like I don't care like this person gets killed off.
Well, I
It's
I
just a
think
bad
that
trope that
it
just needs to
is.
stop.
I think that's because it took its time in the beginning, and it took its time with the characters, and everyone in that 1981 original, they feel like real people.
Yes,
And
absolutely.
I say that in, to compare it to the remake. I'm gonna bring this up a lot of times, but it's almost like the original feels like an old school, gritty slasher from that era. The
Yes.
remake, when I watch
Yes.
it, I feel like I'm watching a CW show.
Yeah, you know what, I agree.
It
I
has
felt that
that
way.
vibe where, like, everyone is it's like everyone's good looking, and I mean that in a.
Yeah. You're right.
So there was an interview with Joe Lynch, director of Wrong Turn 2 and Mayhem. He had an interview on Dead Meat, and he's like, modern movies, it's almost like everyone's good looking. And it's like, where's the average looking people that used to be in like movies in the 70s and 80s where your
Right.
lead could be balding and have kind of a gut. And it's like
Right.
everyone looks like a model now, the men and the
Right.
women, you
Right,
know.
exactly. Yeah.
Now I will say I automatically give kudos to the new one because it has Tom Atkins. He's one of my absolute favorite, actors in the horror genre. For fans of The Fog or Halloween 3 or Maniac Cop, I love those movies. But just the original, the even the town itself felt
Yeah.
more lived in. It felt like a real town. The remake, it was like it felt like they were on a back lot.
Well, to a degree, like this is where I'm going to defend like the newer film a little bit, only because
Okay.
you are right. Certain areas definitely feel like a backlot, but however, those certain town shots, those are actually like filmed on location in different areas of Pennsylvania. Like is it like in various mining towns, and I think
Okay.
up in Pittsburgh too.
That
So
we
yeah,
should mention that too, that this
yeah,
movie does kind of hit close to home for us.
right.
Both, we're
We're
we live
Pennsylvania
in
natives.
Pennsylvania. We're familiar with that. We're not exactly in that region of it, but
Right, right.
coal mining, and it's such an integral part of the state of Pennsylvania. So
Absolutely.
it's kind of like
Yeah.
Pennsylvania. We've got My Bloody Valentine, we've got George A. Romero, and we've got M. Night Shyamalan, who,
Yeah,
depending on which movie he's just released, we're proud or
right.
not proud to talk about.
I also know that Tom Savini also likes to visit PA from time to time, or at
Well,
least, you know,
he was from Pittsburgh too,
yeah, there you
like
go.
Romero. Yeah.
There you go.
But anyway, yeah, I think the original, it took its time with the story. It let it play out more, and I love, and I think you can definitely talk about this because you were telling me about it before. The role that the ballad of Harry Warden plays with just the creating a mythos.
Yes, absolutely. And that was something that really surprised me too when I was watching the 81 film, like especially at the very end when it's revealed that Alex was the killer and just how like crazy he was at the end, like, seeing Harry Warden murder his own father and basically taking that like pain and internalizing it to the point where it
Mm-hmm.
just literally turned him into that kind of, you know, into the very thing that he was terrified of, and just seeing him like, just like running away like deeper into the mind, like, saying like, oh my bloody Valentine, and then hearing him scream at the end, and then the introduction of that as a folk song. And that's like something that you don't really see anymore, like in like horror as a horror films, like, like
They
sometimes
don't go all
like,
out
yeah,
like that.
right, yeah,
And the
exactly,
song, like you imagine that, like the song creates a mythos in universe where
yes,
you could
yes,
imagine school children singing that song,
absolutely.
and it turns Harry Warden into more of a symbol, whereas in the
Yes.
newer one, the big killer reveal, it's just Fight Club at that point.
Yes.
And it's like that twist has been done so many. I don't want to spoil a bunch more movies. It's
Oh
been
yeah.
done in Fight Club. It's been done in Secret Window. It's been
Yes.
done in Hide and Seek. And then it was done again in My Bloody Valentine. It's probably done in 5 other movies that I'm not thinking of right now.
Yes. Oh, it
So
also. Oh yeah, yeah. Oh no, I'll you go first, and then I'll follow
I'm
up.
done. I'm just ranting at this point.
Okay.
You go ahead and get me off topic.
Okay. Well, I definitely need I do need to mention this one too. So the original 81 film was filmed up in Canada. And for the bearer as a ballad of Harry Warden, it was Scottish Canadian tenor John McDermott who was relatively new into singing at the time, that he was requested by the original filmmakers to do that song, even though
Oh
he is not
wow.
credit yeah, even though he is not credited in the original film. But I thought that was very fascinating. So, like that's like I said, just the fact that they really thought that highly of him, and like, like as a budding, tenor voice, and they
Mm-hmm.
said, we'd love for you to, come in and like do a little like song for us, and it just worked. It's just one of those things that you don't realize, and it's like, there you go. And I'm like,
It
wow,
just it adds to it, and I feel like, and we're about to get into this. So I think we can agree story and characters original does way better.
agreed, 100%.
Now I want to talk a little bit about more just like the technical specs. So
Yes.
your filmmaking stuff, your special effects, your kills.
Okay.
So I will be the first. Let's get this out of the way. I hate 3D.
Yeah.
I hate it. I
It,
hate that this movie came out right in
yeah.
the middle of
Yeah.
that craze.
Yeah. That huge gimmick is a gimmick that Hollywood was really, digging into at the
and
time.
and and it's like, oh, look at the things coming at the screen,
Oh yeah.
like like
Especially. Yeah.
like
It
when
was just silly.
the naked girl in the parking lot throws the gun, it like comes at the screen.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Every 3D movie does this, where like an object comes to you with the screen and then it cuts to the other side, coming
Yeah.
completely violating the rule of 180 when it comes
Mm,
to camera setup, but it's all done just for the sake of 3D shots. And
right.
it looks horrible.
Yeah, especially the scene with them driving into the tree, like that was just really obnoxious. Like, like it coming like right at you. I'm like, that was
And
really
it
obvious.
was. And like even the mindset in the original looked more like a real mine.
Right. Oh yeah, absolutely.
than a set. I mean, firstly, I know we said we're familiar with Pennsylvania. I'm glad that we don't live in such a small town that literally the only thing there is to do is go drink in a mine, because that seems really depressing. That's all there is to
So,
do.
yeah. Yeah, unless it's like a dare or something like that, like like let's or like like it's such a small town, like they got to get away from it. So like what else? Where else would you go to? Oh, there's
But
an abandoned mine
but
nearby.
what yeah, what I mean is it's not like it's not like they can go to the city or something.
Right, right. That's true.
So I'm grateful that
Yeah.
we can do that. But anyways, um, I'll touch on this a little bit. The newer one, I'm a big film purist, and when I say that, I mean literally. I think movies shot on film still look better. I think digital has come a long way. I think digital, IMAX 4K looks good, but it just doesn't have that grain or that
Yes.
organic look that film does, that the original
Ag-
has.
Agreed. Agreed 100%.
And the newer one, I think because of the way because movies like that, they shoot them for 3D. It has this extra artificial digital look to it,
Yeah.
where like
Yeah, that extra
everyone has
layer.
this. Yeah, there's like a glow to it almost, and
Yeah, I did
uh,
notice that.
again, that just feeds back into where it doesn't look like a movie. It looks like a CW show, and it doesn't help that half the people in the movie were in CW shows.
Right, exactly. Yeah,
So
and also the speed up of some scenes, like like looked really weird. It's like they added extra frames, I think, just to kind of like I don't know. It just seemed really off-putting at points.
I think what happened was you saw um, back in 2004, the original Saw comes out, and it does these like very quick cuts and kind of
Oh yeah.
creative editing choices.
Oh
Now,
yeah. Oh yeah, you're right. Yeah, like with them in the car, for example, like
yeah,
just like the camera going forward like this and
now
this.
I will
Right.
tell you, Saw did it because they didn't have the money to shoot normally.
Right.
Saw did
Okay.
it because when
Gotcha.
they
Right.
literally when they did the car chase scene, it was just Danny Glover and Michael Emerson sitting in the car and
Right.
then shaking a camera at it to
Right.
mimic
Right. To
driving.
mimic, yeah, the mimic
To,
like a chase scene.
yeah,
Right. I know what you mean.
because that's all they could afford to do. And
Right.
then I think it sort of created a trend where a lot of movies were like, oh, that's what people want. They want this like super fast, editing where the camera has ADD and it can't sit still. It's like
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
just it's annoying.
It is. You're absolutely right. That's why I prefer the 81 film better because like it took its time. Like you had longer shots, but it helped to build the story better. If anything,
Mm-hmm.
less was more when it came to that. Whereas like yeah, in the '09 remake, it's, very quick cuts, like very like, like here's Harry, here's the victims, here's Harry, here's the victims, here's Harry, is a 3D effect. Whoa!
I
It's
will
just goes
say though that
crazy.
there is one area that I do think the 2009 version did better, and I think you know what I'm about to say. I think the kills are better.
I
They
over
are more brutal. They
Yeah,
are gorier. They
yeah,
they
they are
are.
more brutal for sure.
I am a sick person who just eats that stuff up, and I think to be fair, the original was still in that early stage of slashers. It was 1981, and
Right.
slashers had not really gone that far yet. You didn't start to see that until like the mid 80s with
Yeah,
your Friday the 13th and Nightmare on Elm Street sequels.
yeah, true. Yeah,
So they were tamer. Now I'll leave it up for debate which one is scarier, whether the long suspenseful shot
right,
into where the killer comes out versus the
right.
over the top bloody kill. But just if you're a
Mhm.
sick person like me who eats up blood and gore, then the new one does satisfy that. It goes all out. I mean, hell, Tom Atkins gets the pickaxe like up through
Oh
the
yeah.
bottom of the map.
Oh
Oh
yeah,
my
that was
god!
yeah, it was so brutal. I'm not gonna lie, that was
Yes,
brutal.
and it's like I love Tom Atkins, and I hated seeing him die, but like, what a way to go out!
Yeah.
I
Actually,
actually I met him at a convention last year.
oh cool.
Really cool guy. He's like almost 90 and he had more energy than everyone there. So
Wow.
God bless him.
Indeed. That's real passion there. Love that.
Hmm.
Yeah. Actually, the way that kill was set up was very clever, especially like how you see like the light in the distance, and he's like going towards it, and you're thinking to yourself like, is it like is the killer really there? And then it's like, oh, it was a fake out, like his mining helmet was there, but you didn't actually see him up until it was too late. And I'm like, that was creative. Like some of the kills, like
It was a good
in the 2000,
subversion.
yeah, and that was good. It was interesting. I wouldn't have thought of that myself, but you know that's what I like. So some of the kills, like I'll give the 2009 film credit for that. Some of the kills were really creative, is it in terms of like going after the various victims. So
Yeah,
yeah,
and again, I think that's the one thing it does better, and it's the reason why I don't discount the remake entirely. There are some remakes that I'm like, you know what? It offers nothing. It shouldn't have been made. Don't bother with it. I think
right.
that
Uh,
this
Agreed.
one, we can agree it's not as good, but I
Yeah,
think it still has its place in the
yeah.
genre. In the it, and
Hmm.
honestly, I think they make for a great double feature just because they are so tonally different.
Yeah, I would agree with you.
I
Especially because like the story for the 2009 film, I liked how they definitely did it like different enough where it still felt like somewhat original, especially with the character of Tom Harrigan, and like the son who's basically trying to sell the mine, and the people of the town are very much against him for doing that because like it's their livelihood. It's like how they pay the bills and put food on the table, which especially during that time, like like that was a big debate, as the whole green energy um focus has been.
oh,
And like
I didn't even think of it like, but you're right.
yeah,
That
yeah,
was right
in
around
ter-
that time. Not
right,
just that, but
right,
it was the middle of that whole recession
right,
where just
exactly. Yes,
small communities like that
right,
where the whole town relied on an industry that was hurting.
yes,
I didn't even think
yes.
of it, but you're right. That's a really good point.
Thank you, thank
So
you.
in a way, it was more relevant, I think.
Yes, yeah.
Though
So
to
like
be fair, I was not alive in 1981. I can't speak to how relevant that movie was at that time.
that, yeah, same here. I was born in '85, so yeah.
But that's a really interesting point of just how the new one. My whole point with remakes is if you're not gonna do something different, why bother?
Agreed.
Like the 1998 remake of Psycho was perhaps the biggest example of why are you doing this?
Yes,
If you're just gonna make it shot for shot the same, what's the point?
right.
So
And with a lesser actor too.
yeah,
I mean, seriously, like Vince
he
Vaughn,
he he's
really?
he's funny
Wow.
in other stuff, but he is no Anthony Perkins.
Oh,
But
agreed, 100%.
we'll discuss that in another episode,
Oh yeah.
probably.
Yeah.
I keep saying, well, oh yeah, we'll get to that in another episode, as if I'm just. Eventually, we'll get to everything.
Yeah.
Eventually.
Oh yeah, trust me, we have a lot of things to talk about
Oh
when it
yeah.
comes to these things.
So I respect the remake enough that while I hate the 3D gimmick, and if it didn't have that, I'd like it even more. But I like that it did do things a little differently and kind of made things interesting.
Yeah,
So
I
I
completely see
will
your
give
point
it
there.
credit for that.
Hmm.
And also for, you know, just giving us a great Tom Atkins performance.
Mhm.
I don't know if you can tell. I really like Tom Atkins.
Yeah, I can definitely tell.
He is the
But
man.
oh yeah, especially in the 2009 film, it was is a, you could clearly tell like he was the standout among every actor there. You have a bunch of like like kids, and then you have Tom Atkins.
Oh yeah.
Mhm.
So to kind of wrap this up a little bit, uh, did you have any final thoughts?
Well, my final thoughts overall are, like I said, I do prefer the 1981 film of My Bloody Valentine, and actually, thank you again for introducing that to me because it was something I had never considered checking out. But after I did so, I'm like, wow, like I really, really like love this like older
Mm-hmm.
slasher film, and if anything, I want to see like other films of that during that time period, that era. Like I'm genuinely interested in checking out more of that kind of stuff. And yeah, like it's just definitely thank you for opening up to that. So yeah, I do prefer the 1981 version much more. The 2009 version, not a bad remake, but it could have definitely been better in certain areas overall. But it was different. But I do agree with you. It was different enough to at least you know if you were curious, like to give it a watch. But it's not necessary to watch it.
Yeah. I think I would describe it as if I want to use my brain, I'll watch
Hmm.
the original.
Hmm.
If I'm in the mood for just some sick, sadistic, brutal murder, I'll put on the new one.
That sounds
And
good.
that's all I have to say about that. So,
Hmm.
uh, check out both movies. Valentine's Day is coming up. Trick your girlfriend into watching it by telling her you're going to watch a movie called My Bloody Valentine and tell her that it's about Valentine's Day. And it's a great way to guarantee that you won't have a girlfriend on February 15th.
Unless she's into horror movies.
No, actually, literally, that's why uh, I knew my current fiance, Jessica, I knew she was the one early on when we were dating because I showed her the first Saw movie and she
Hmm.
liked it so much. She's like, "Can we watch all of them?" And then we watched all of them. She'd never seen them before. So I
Oh
showed her
wow,
all the Saw movies in one weekend. And then I,
nice,
I knew she was the one. So,
indeed.
on that romantic note, like, share, subscribe, all the
Oh
YouTube stuff.
wait. Sorry, we got one. Was it one more heart? As a heart shaped treat for everyone?
Yes, that's right. I almost forgot.
Yes, yeah.
This
So
this is bonus content.
yes,
So it's Indiegogo, right?
yes. I'll talk a little bit about it. So
Mm-hmm.
currently there is an Indiegogo as a campaign for a fan made sequel to the original 1981 film of My Bloody Valentine. It's called Valentine Bluffs. And from what I've seen trailer wise and plot synopsis, it's very interesting. It's still continuing from the main story of the original, but it's set, several decades later, in which they're still continuing from from the whole is it from that legend. So
Mm-hmm.
in this case, it would be like as Axel being the one like still like going around town and people being afraid. But of course now the newer generations like, oh, that's just a legend and whatnot, up until Valentine's rolls around. So it's very interesting. Like is it because as when I was doing research for My Bloody Valentine, I just happened to discover it, and I'm like, we have to talk about this. We gotta like mention it. But of course, just letting everyone know we are not affiliated with this. We are not being sponsored by them in any way, shape, or form.
We
We're
wish someone was sponsoring us,
yeah,
but
absolutely.
they do have an Indiegogo where you can contribute and check
Mhm.
it out. I'll even put a link to this in the description if you're interested. But I love a good fan film, and that's because
Yeah,
it just shows the passion
absolutely.
that fans, specifically horror fans, have.
Hmm.
And I'm very excited to see it. I will. I think. Are you getting the shirt from them?
I as a I'm thinking about getting the shirt as a shirt. I'll
I was
definitely
thinking
get
about
the.
getting that too.
I'm personally getting the Blu-ray for sure. That I
Okay.
definitely want to check out. So
And then
so
maybe
yeah,
we'll talk about that when that comes out
sounds good.
down the line. So Check
Awesome.
that out. Leave a comment. Let us know what other topics do you want us to cover on these weekly Dead Talks. Do you want to be featured? Do you have some subject or topic that you're really passionate about that you want to join us in a discussion on? Let us know in the comments. As always, like, share, subscribe. If you don't, your heart might just end up in a heart-shaped box meant for chocolates. Or you might be doomed to do nothing on weekends but drink in a mine. So, as always, I'm Dave. Thanks for watching. And every day is Halloween.
And this is Patrick, as I saying, to keep watching horror movies and keep America strong.
That's right.